Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Mahima Singh. Today we're joined by in-house experts Udit Sharma, Vipul Jindal and Arjun Rishi. And also joining us is the managing partner, Mr. Monish Chatrat. Let me turn to you, Monish sir. Thank you for joining us for this debate session, this fireside chat today. How do you feel about this?
Well, firstly, I have seen ever since the time this news was broken out, I've seen a lot of organizations, a lot of people, a lot of groups come up with various points of views without actually going into the depth of what exactly has happened. I intentionally have shied away, for the first time perhaps, from speaking to the press, or for that matter, even responding, despite repeated requests by a lot of professional forums that I'm a part of, because I felt that the nature of these acquisitions is so serious that unless one understands the genesis, unless one understands the way in which the research has been conducted, and unless one understands how the so called facts have been connected together to put together a story, anything that a respectable, reputable firm like ours would say would have its own set of implications. Ironically, we do not currently work and have not worked for any of the Adani companies. So I have no vested interest. All of you are aware of the fact that we are not directly engaged with any government body. So we have no vested interest. But where we sit and where we stand, it is our role and moral and ethical responsibility to be able to base whatever we say and not come across as being speculative. Because being speculative means being manipulative. And it is, as a responsible organization in India, we have to do and come across by putting the actual facts before the people. As a leading risk advisory firm that promotes good governance, that stands up for good governance as well, we immediately put out a 10-point agenda, like the 10 commandments of good governance, that we felt were relevant, that we felt it was the right time for us to reiterate perhaps for the benefit of not just our clients, but also organizations across the globe.
My question to managing partner, sir, is that as we can witness that Credit Suisse and Citibank have stopped accepting Adani bonds as collateral, and shares of FBI have fell by 10% on the same day when it came out that major lender to Adani was SBI. And will it be a liquidity crunch for Adani as they have a current ratio is very tight? What will be the next step of Adani for this?
Was the Adani's decision to call back their FPO was right or not? And second one, if the report of Hindenburg gets true, like all the facts which have been listed there comes to be true, or like anything like that, so what impact it will create on Indian economy?
Now, we as an organization, we are not speculative. But I think what we try and do is that we try and get into the depth of the facts. There are 10 listed entities of the Adani Group. They have lost over 100 billion US dollars in terms of the market cap.
Yes.
I think it's a very bold step. Here is an organization that has come up with the FPO. Here is an organization whose FPO is fully subscribed, perhaps oversubscribed in this particular case. The withdrawal of a FPO and return of the money so received, the intent behind that being expressed as safety of the investors considering the market volatility, I think is an important consideration. There are certain fundamentals, and one of the important fundamentals that I would like to go into is what has really been the focus of the Adani Group. It has largely been infrastructure. What has been the focus of the Indian government? It has largely been in infrastructure. What is required for the India growth story to continue has been investments in infrastructure. The India growth story is based on certain fundamental factors. One of that is the robustness of demand. The other one is stability of polity. And the third one is the progressive nature of the policies. And fundamentally, and most importantly, the irreversible process of globalization and liberalization that was ushered in from the 1990s. So we saw in the late 90s when the Far East Asian economies were reeling under a currency crisis, India held its ground. The future of the Adani Group. Now, if you've seen what I have been saying all along is that these are acquisitions. Unless these facts are proven, the Adani Group does continue to have a bright future. What needs to be done, and I do believe that the government of India and various institutional bodies like SEBI, and they've already started acting on that, should definitely undertake a thorough probe, look into the facts, because in a short span, investors losing close to 120 billion US dollars is something very serious for any economy. We've heard the Honorable Finance Minister say, with reference to statements made by the top officials of SBI and LIC, who very categorically stated that the exposure as a consequence of the depletion in the valuation of the stocks is still within the acceptable range. In fact, they have made profits, and various other metrics that are used in the context of assessing the stability of these organizations remain within the acceptable ranges. The metrics are not substantially depleted. I'm certainly not suggesting that no process cannot be exploited, but what I'm simply saying is that we'd be jumping the gun in assuming that in this case it is.
And just coming back to what Arjun had raised earlier was the point of a financial crisis. So while we did speak about the way forward for the company and the group, the finance ministry has updated that India's macroeconomic fundamentals have remained unaffected. But how do we see this panning out in the long term?
Right. So, like Monisha said, it's very difficult to say what will happen in the long run. Now, from what I understood, is that he's saying correlation does not equal causation.
I feel that the MDC Global Governance Barometer in terms of 10 commandments should be applied rigorously by any investigating agency, and we are happy to talk to them and assist them in doing so, to be able to determine the bona fideness and as to whether there was a malicious or malafide intent as has been stated by the Adani in publishing this report. Second aspect is, before anybody jumps to any conclusions about corporate governance, we have to be very, very clear about not just the perceived moral framework, not just the perceived ethical framework, but also the actual legislative framework in the context of which certain decisions have been taken.
Very well said.